Hello everybody, Glitch Reaper here. I'm doing a very special mod review. It's on Evilcraft. There may be a few of you that remember this from whenever I was doing my Solitary Craft Plus run, and a few other mod packs I've been attempting to do. And it'll definitely be arriving in the future in other mod packs as well that I do, because the thing is, whenever I did that particular run on Solitary Craft Plus, I kinda discovered this mod for the first time myself. I didn't know what it was. I thought I was gonna be fighting particularly evil creatures or something like that. Although that was partially true. The thing is that it really showed me one of the few kind of going over to the dark side mods that I really honestly enjoyed. So I decided to finally give it its due, especially after it's been apparently updated a lot over time. It's had a few major rehashes on a few of its in-game stuff, and I'll probably go over that as I go through the basics of the mod and the advanced stuff, going over through pretty much everything. And I wanted to do this in kind of a slightly different way, so I'll see how this goes. But here's my big tribute to Evilcraft. And yes, I'm in Twilight Forest armor. There's not a particular armor set with this mod that goes all the way through. Just saying. Anyhow, let's get on with the show. Now, whenever you, well, first of all, I might not want to be menacing around with that very much, but whenever you start out, you'll be looking for this ore. And yes, you can click on it kind of like with redstone ore, and the thing is that it is the one ore in the mod, but you get two items from it. You can get the dark gems and crushed dark gems. Now, the mod does have compatibility with certain mods allowing you to get the dark gems be crushed into crushed dark gems, but it's a little picky on that. But so it's best to basically mine the ore. Now, the ore is best mined with fortune because you get more of the dark gems and crushed dark gems. So it's very important to max it out. Also, remember the mining level of this is iron, so you have to have at least an iron pick to really do it. So it's kind of your starting point for the mod, is whenever you can mine stuff that at least iron can mine. Now, how you actually get into the mod is a bit different. Now, you may notice I already have one of these books. Well, I don't entirely need it, because the Origins of Darkness book is actually obtained in more than one way. You can receive them at random whenever you're doing looting and stuff, and you can also make it yourself special. And oh yeah, by the way, this is a storage block for those. So yeah, it does have some other things you can use for decoration and storage. But as I was saying, the thing is that you can actually create this book in an unusual fashion. What you need to do is make one of these darkened apples. Now, to make one of these, you need one of the dark gems and an apple. Oh, by the way, the ore has a funny thing about it if you look at the lore. It says between levels 6 and 66. You gotta love that old reference. But anyhow, once you've found the ore and got yourself one of these darkened apples, some interesting things happen. You can feed one of the darkened apples to a creature, and then, well, it'll have a very bad day, but then you'll also wind up being able to create the Origins of Darkness book. So, do I really want to do it with a squid? I think I've gotten them pretty hardcore before. Let's go classic here. I think even in the forum page he originally showed a pig, so I'll just do it the way it was originally done. Even though I'm pretty sure I could actually do this on a hostile mob if I really wanted to. See, it'll die quickly. Now toss in a book. Oh, did I miss? Oh, it went a little high. First time that happened. There we go. I did just in time. Anyhow, you'll see that crazy distortion. And you may also notice something that's also basic with the mod I'll go over later. Even though it's very apparent whenever you have the mod installed, because whenever creatures die, they have these ghostly vengeance spirits. Now, I can... And also note, they don't last long. Note that I can see them because I'm in creative. Normally, you have a harder time seeing them, but we'll go over that later, because other than creative mode, there are other ways of doing it in the mod and survival, and it's a big part of it. Also, note that they're called vengeance spirits for a reason. There's a chance they will attack you immediately. And when they do, it can give you a bit of a bad time. Although not too terribly hard. The thing about it is that whenever they do that, they will become pretty much that visible or better, and then run right for you, and you'll see them regardless of anything else, because they will enter your world a bit more strongly. Now, This book is the... Oop, I left it on another page, and apparently it doesn't care whether or not it was the actual exact book. Anyhow, whenever you get this book, you'll notice that it has many different chapters, and you can click directly into things like some other kinds of guidebooks. And there's actually a lot in the mod, and that's something I noticed real early on whenever I first started playing it. Try and remember if I got my book originally by exploration or not, because you can find it as loot, or you could do the thing with the apple, whichever one you'd like. And now, now these are some decorative brick blocks that you can make, but you're probably not going to necessarily be going after decorations too terribly much, because a lot of this is a Magitech mod. If you wanted to decorate with it, it's kind of expensive because these dark blocks are 9 of those gems, so it is a true storage block. So you'll be paying a bit for that if you go that route, and it does have a stair. Weird thing, it used to have slabs in the mod, but he never quite got slabs right for some reason. So I think he eventually gave up on them. Yeah, Kroeser, that's an interesting little tweak. But now you may also note that you may find some of this in the world. It's condensed blood. It's worth a certain amount, like half a bucket worth, and I'll get into the value of blood later as well, but note that each of these is worth half a bucket. Because you can put this into your later, like, blood-powered Magitech machinery later, and it acts as a quick source of extra power. Now, for special purposes, I'll be using this instead, the creative blood drop. It's only in creative, and it gives you infinite blood, so this will be speeding things up. But normally you'd be looking for these and doing various other types of things to try to get a hold of blood, and you may notice a few remains here and there. But anyhow, so you'll be looking for this, and these are artifacts. You can't make condensed blood. It just is like loot that's like a little bonus that you can use. And while that is good for starting out to help you whenever you're using your blood-powered machinery later on, it won't really be an end-all because you'll only be finding it as loot. For actual like continued blood usage, you need other stuff, and this is where some of these implements come in. Also, a few little convenience things early on. But basically, over here we have spikes. You actually make a lot of these at once. It'll cost you just one dark gem and an iron ingot, darn lips, and you'll get 16 spikes. Now these are useful in creating several things, including something I'll go over in a moment, the blood extractor, which you will be needing to use a lot in the mod. And also this other thing I show here, the spiked plate, and also spiky claws and some other things later on. The spiky claws are an early game sort of double purpose item, because you'll note here that it says it has 6 attack damage and a speed like a sword. The reason why, it's effective against soft materials, so you can use it equally as a shovel and as a weapon. So it's good for like if you need to be, you're trying to move around. I just noted that I had that left the wrong way. Usually I don't have my attack indicator left on crosshairs. I usually have it on hotbar. Oh well, not a big deal. But basically, if you're like mining through like soft earth, like sand and dirt, and then an enemy shows up, you can whack them with this, and you won't have to worry too much. Spiked plates have an interesting set of uses. Specifically, one of the big things, and I know I have pig hair, but I'd like to get a different one, is the thing is, they are useful in killing enemies quickly. And I do mean pretty fast, because they deal damage pretty swiftly whenever something steps on it. Now, they're harmless to players. Even if I was in survival mode, this wouldn't hurt me at all. But the big use is that it's a great mob farming tool. They allow you, and that's like 3 spikes over a pressure plate if you didn't see the thing real quick. But anyhow, the thing is that it will give you experience and items, including rare drops, as if you would kill them yourself. So, good fake player type experience. Hey, you, shoot. I was trying to show them how you can get insta-whacked. You can see it deals about 4 points of damage a pop. Okay. Okay, that one was smarter than most mobs. Usually they wind up wandering back onto it and killing themselves. Of course, the best thing to do is obviously to do this in a confined space with a mob farm, as was demonstrated as to what happens when you don't do that spontaneously. That happened. Now, the big thing that you'll really be using is the blood extractor. Now, this thing is your mainstay. This is the big thing. You'll need some glass and some spikes and a dark gem, but it should be noted it can be upgraded, and that's a big thing. You can combine it with more blood extractors or something I'll show a bit later, and I feel that feeling. Oh, you're back for more already? Okay, maybe I should just can I get a good aim at you? Or are you gonna please? Oh, you're getting smart about it. You know where not to step. This guy is annoying me. I want to spike him. Thank you. Anyhow, as I was going to say, this has a few specialized usage, and it is how you get to a lot of the progress in the mod. Now, the way that it works is a couple of different ways. One of which is you can basically just kill mobs while this is in your inventory. It doesn't have to be in your hotbar. I just got it there. Now, another thing you can do is use it to, well, let me see if I can drop this guy from a height here, because there's something in the mod. I hope it shows right now. There might be issues with it in this exact version. This may be a little too advanced. Why is my flight occasionally popping out today? I don't know why. But anyhow, normally whenever a mob dies in Evilcraft, something special happens. So let me just... Is that tainted the block? No! What is going on here? I haven't had it stain a block yet. I don't... maybe that feature isn't entirely working right now. But normally whenever a creature dies from fall damage, in the mod they stain the block with blood. For some odd reason that's not working right now in this version. I don't know why, or maybe they're just too weak, because... No, I've seen Silverfish die this way before. But anyhow, there's like this blood-stained block, and you can basically use the blood extractor to kind of slurp them up. But you can also use it to simply, as I said before, gain blood as you kill mobs, which is the primary way. But I'm going to go into survival for a moment, because there's something special that I need to demonstrate how to do that's an early step that shows up pretty often with the mod. And let me see here. But yeah, these blocks are special. As I was saying before, normally you'd get like blood-stained blocks, but that's not happening right now, so I'll kind of skip to the big thing. Normally, whenever you use this, if you have enough in it, you can make... Oh, I'm actually pretty close. Huh. Maybe I should have whacked something else to just demonstrate the fullness. Okay, I'll head back. Okay, I was pretty close to... I'm just going to whack a few squids just to fill this thing up the rest of the way, because, let's face it... Well, that guy popped out. It's not even night. Why are you coming from dead mobs? This should definitely put it over the 1000, because it contains fluid, in this case specifically blood. It can't be anything else. Something I'm going to show later can contain any fluid, and it's really useful. Oh, this guy's going to be annoying. Well. Oh, it's because I'm in creative that it's not doing that. Okay, never mind. I'll just see if this has enough. Because it should have, yeah, if it has over 1000 MB, which is a bucket worth, then you will be fine. Now, let me see here. I guess I can just pop a hole here and show how this process normally works. Okay, normally speaking, whenever you have this and it's full of enough blood, you can actually place it in a world by clicking. If you shift-click, or actually, no. If you just click again, you'll slurp it back up into the blood extractor. So it can basically exchange things back and forth. As I said, it can be upgraded. Now, over time, that will dry out if it's not exposed to rain. So you can, and this is what happens. You get hardened blood. This is what happens when it's been exposed to sunlight and has dried out nicely, and that one has too. Now, what you normally do to get some of the special things later for crafting later stuff is you go through a very special process here. Now, I will just simply punch here, and you can basically re-liquefy it by just punching it quickly. Now, whenever you do this initial process, note that you need 5 source blocks worth, so you do need to have a good amount already. And then this will happen. If you throw in one of the dark gems, you get something called a dark power gem. This is very important. And you'll also need to actually have yet more of this hardened blood, so that you can light it on fire with flint and steel. Now, alternatively, you can silk touch it and actually cook it in a furnace for more. In fact, let me, well, actually, I'll go ahead and roast this, and then, yeah, there we go. But yeah, and you'll get these hardened blood shards. They're very important in more than one way, and one of the things is that you can get them by, as I've shown here, cooking hardened blood. So if you can silk touch it, you will get 9. I just got 6, so if you want to have a guaranteed amount that's also bigger, you do that, and then you're pretty much good because of why you need this stuff. And it goes with, as I was going to, well, for one thing, it counts as red dye, just as a nice little order of convenience. But the big thing that you're actually trying to make is this. The blood infusion core. This is very important and used in several recipes later. Like, a lot of them. Like, I'm going to be going over that very quickly. And yes, that's a storage block for the dark power gem right behind it. I have the habit of putting them on their storage block. I realize that. But yeah, now I'll just kind of repair this. Just cause, no reason. But a big part of the mod is using this. This is the blood infuser, and it's also very important to have. Now, making one of these is also fairly easy once you've gone through the process of getting the blood infusion core, of using the hardened blood shards around a dark power gem. Because once you have this, it usually uses simpler recipes after you get to that point. It's just the process. But again, there's easier ways of doing it. And after you get this, you will be able to obtain more of those dark power gems for a lot cheaper than 5 buckets of blood each. Because you can actually convert dark gems into dark power gems inside this for only 250 MB, which is a quarter of a bucket. So, massive savings there. But again, notice it only uses cobblestone, and it's actually other than the special core, and it's incredibly important. Now, whenever you look into the book, you'll note that there's a lot of things based around this. This is a process known as blood infusion. I already went over the blood infusion core, but the big thing is this blood infuser is pretty much the big deal. Now, there's a lot of this stuff that unlocks later because there's ways of promoting it. Upgrading it. As I said, you could also use dark gems and stuff in it. Now, how you get blood inside is actually fairly easy. And I'll go over that pretty much now because I went through the pages. But, as I was saying before, you can insert any kind of thing that contains blood into here. Like, for example, this is how you normally do it, is you have your blood extractor deposit some blood into it. So, as you've been killing stuff, you'll be able to fill this up slowly. I'm going to fill it up quickly. And there's many reasons why. But basically, now I can do all sorts of stuff with this thing. Even at the start, it is capable of doing some very special things with what you call blood alchemy, which is transmuting things using the power of magical blood into other things. And one of the earliest things, as I said, is also, again, simply transform one of the dark gems into one of the dark power gems. Yep, wrong slide. And it does take time, although the upgrades can make it faster and more efficient. So right now, I'm just doing a quick thing, and note there's like a little animation with blood bubbles. You got it like that. Now, again, that's much cheaper than previously. Much cheaper. But you'll be using this for a lot of different things because of its power of, as I was saying, blood alchemy. Transforming things into other things. Let me see if I can get into the initial... okay. Forget what... there's... oh, yeah. The upcoming stuff is also pretty cool. But for now, just remember that there's a what's called blood infusion recipes, and it's about transmuting things. And although it's mainly in the upgraded state, so yeah, I'll need to move on to a few other useful things. This is the blood chest. It's created with one of those blood infusion cores again. Remember that little process, and any kind of wooden planks around it like a chest, so it really is like a chest combined with one of those. Now, it has several slots, and you can, again, power it up with magical blood, so, yeah. So, yep, there you go. And the purpose of this is to repair things. Like, for example, flint and steel. Repaired. This knightly pick. Repaired. Also note that enchanted objects usually are a little more expensive overall, so just saying. Now, this is very convenient, like really, really convenient for many reasons, because as you go along, you will probably want to save important objects, and some of them don't necessarily have ways of repairing them, but don't have a no repair tag either. So in those cases, it makes it extra important to have a blood chest. So this is definitely your go-to for repair work. And it's a great early option as well. So if you don't have a mending enchantment, this thing is a massive saver there. Now, these two things are actually from Tinker's Construct. It's just showing it has compatibility with with the mod's woods. So yeah, it's actually kind of funny that this works. So that's just a little extra. Well. Anyhow, as I was going to say, one of the early options with this is to make this marvelous tree over here. This is an undead tree. And it's the source of all these planks I have everywhere, actually. You will be wanting this tree a lot. And you initially make it with the blood infuser. And like you make a sapling. And this process isn't really that big of a deal in some ways because it is early game. Now, one thing you can do is you can use shears on any kind of sapling, and then it will turn it into a dead bush. So if you've been looking for dead bushes and you haven't found a desert or a mesa biome, you can in fact do it this way, which makes it pretty convenient. And it takes you about 2,000 MB, or in other words 2 buckets worth of blood, in the blood infuser to create an undead sapling. Now, once you have it and you're harvesting the wood, you can get a log, as you could easily have seen there, and you take a couple of planks and a dark gem to get dark sticks. This is, and you can also, of course, make some nice stairs with it, which I use to frame the tree. But yeah, the dark sticks are useful in a lot of the tools in the mod. Like, they specifically replace regular sticks with these sticks. They are in fact ore dictionary with regular sticks. So, yeah, you can actually use them for other things if you happen to have an extra supply, which is kind of rare, admittedly, because that's not normally how things go, is having extra. Now, there's also, before we get on to the actual, like, tool usage, there's some world generation I'd like to go over, and what it tends to mean. Because, you may, well, actually, I'm not sure if you noticed, but see that black beam into the sky? Just how, like, all this adds up from exploration, just mining, this comes from what that black beam really is over there. And it's got a lot of interesting usage. Now, whenever you read the book, it'll tell you a few things in the fact that, let's say, all the way over to, I think, the earliest part. In one of the first things, it says it's a strange new world. And it'll tell you basically about exploration. including a rare evil dungeon that I rarely actually see. But the big thing is the Dark Temple. And this is where these items come in, that's in this section. Is you have to, you can create these weather containers that are empty, and you can actually contain the weather with them. It takes a dark gem, a glass bottle, and sugar. Alternatively, you can make something called a biome, a biome, or just a moment, over here. Hello. Biome extract. But yeah, you can get these biome extract bottles with a dark gem, a crushed dark gem, so again, I told you those things would be important on their own. And any kind of stained glass, and any kind of glass, actually. It's saying clear green stain, but it doesn't have to be that exactly. It's all sorts of stuff. But anyhow, allow me to illustrate how this process works. Because I'm going to take one of these empty weather bottles. I'm going to toss it into this thing, and you will get something special. Now, I'm going to do something that you rarely see in a mod review, because I am going to, let me see, I think it's weather thunder? Yeah. Thing is, I'm in a plains biome, in this super flat, not a desert, so I can do this. Okay, it's thundering now. This is very important. I'm tossing this on. Watch this. It's gathering the power of the weather, and it gives you it back. Okay. Whoop, wrong code. I was going back the wrong way. Now you may also notice that that this structure has something special about it. The block, I just tossed that on, obviously. And the beam has changed. It's no longer black, it's kind of a green. And it's saying environmental accumulator charge. Reasons why? This is the environmental accumulator. It will allow you to gather up the power of the weather as well as the power of, well, the biome itself. It lets you accumulate the environment, which is obviously in its name. Now, you can also see it has a bit of a charge time. It doesn't cost any blood to use, this particular version, but it's a special artifact. You only find these in the world. And they're difficult to move. Like, you can't technically move it yourself. In fact, if you break it, you get another rather important item. This. It looks like a glowing ball. Well, it is. It's called the environmental accumulator. The environmental accumulation. Darn, my lips again. Environmental accumulation core. Now, what that is you can only get it from these, and it allows you to create a craftable version later that's more easily controlled and moved around. Now, this structure is also important because it can sometimes have loot chests. Sometimes. Not this time. This time I wasn't particularly lucky to show that off and show what kind of loot it had, but sometimes they can have loot chests. And so these dark temples are highly important. And you can always find them by looking for a beacon beam-like effect. So they kind of point themselves out. Another thing I'm trying to... another thing about finding Evilcraft structures, I'm not entirely sure, but I think the whole rumor is that these sticks, if you drop them on the ground, tend to point to Evilcraft structures. Not entirely sure, but it's just been how it's been said a few times. Now, these are the weather bottles. We have one for clearing the weather, one for making it rain, and one for making it lightning and thunder. Now, while clearing the weather is kind of nice on occasion, making it rain and making it thunder can also be its own kind of thing. So let me grab that. I don't need that right now. So allow me to just show the process here real quickly. I will make it rain. Huh. Thought there was a sound having to go with that. Anyhow, weather container. This is my only sunshine. This is when the rain begins to fall, and this is Thunderstruck. Obviously, you know what Thunderstruck's supposed to do because I actually made it that way. Right now, I'm clearing the weather. So, again, very handy. You have weather control. Yeah. But, oh, excuse me. Okay, gas happens. But, again, it's not the limit of what it is, because you may notice some of these special items nearby, and they are actually derived from actually using these weather containers of specific forms of weather as ingredients. So you're actually channeling the weather into item creation, which is very cool. Now we have the Eternal Water Bucket. It's an infinite source of water. It is what it is. It never runs out. Even if I were in survival, this thing would never stop making water. In fact, let me just do that real quick to demonstrate. Yeah, see, it never runs out. Ever. It just makes water. All the time. It's what it does. It's literally its sole purpose. But that's actually very cool, because how many times have you needed an infinite water source and thought, I don't want to make one right here? Well, how about you just carry one? Very similarly, you can also do... buy seeds. Anyhow, you can also do something by making this block. And, well, let's go over a bit of the recipes, actually, because these two things are, as you can see, very important when they act as infinite water. Now, this block allows you to basically... the Eternal Water block allows you to basically have infinite water in a source block form that's technically not exactly a source block, because I mean, it's not a liquid. You can stand on it, so yeah, like you can see, I can't drop through. But these two items are very cool. Now, both of them in the recipes involve an actual weather container of rain. But the two ways you can get them is you can get 4 of either, which I guess you could give a few to your friends, because I might need infinite water as well. But the Eternal Water bucket is just 3 dark gems in bucket formation with a weather container of the rain inside. The Eternal Water blocks involve a dark block, which is again 9 dark gems, and you get some glass panes and again a weather container of the rain, and you can get 4 of these. I can kind of see that traveling around. But either way, you have infinite water both ways. Additionally, this block is compatible with piping from mods that allow fluid transfer, so you can use it as is, as an eternal source of water. Now here comes a couple of dangerous things for those of you that tend to like destruction, as I have a lightning grenade and a lightning bomb. Now, these are made using the lightning weather container. In this case, it takes 8 ender pearls, so these are kind of somewhat expensive to a degree. Now, you can also use the lightning grenades to create the lightning bomb. And you can kind of imagine what these are going to do. You know, Squid, I was thinking of sparing you before, but something about this just says, lightning! Lightning again! Yeah. Yeah, you toss these and they just generate a stroke of lightning wherever they are. As you can see, they're very fun. But you can also go big with it. Lightning bomb? Let's show this baby off, because this is a bit more nuts. I think it has a longer fuse than TNT, just saying. It's not just lightning, it's explosive lightning. So, it tends to take out a small chunk of the environment, but it's mainly about the lightning. But still, those blocks were just vaporized. So, sorry, ground. You just got roasted. Poof! Yeah, that's also quite fun. Now, as I was saying before, you can also extract biomes with them. Now, this is an empty one, and if I were to do that right now, the exact biome it says it is, it should say plains, although there's a chance of something else happening. Let me see here. I seem to be perfectly fine. It's perfectly plains. This thing has some weird effects sometimes whenever it's charging up. and that can include turning the biome into a degraded biome. Again, that also happened to me on my Solitary Craft Plus run, so you may note that I've experienced that thing personally. Now, you can, and there's some interesting features of the mod that's just little convenience things, like the creative menu has a lot of stuff automatically in it, and part of that is extracted biomes. I think it blacklists the end. Okay, let's try making... Oh, I got an interesting idea. Because that's a savanna, and they're normally speaking rainless, I think I'll actually make it rain just to show this really funny effect. Okay, but whenever you have these extracted biomes, it can actually change the biome in a local area. You may or may not need to relog, usually it's a little faster than that. Oh, forgot I had that there. I don't want to have don't want to worry about them having to be whacked. But anyhow, see, there's a bit of an effect, and now you can see within the small radius there are now... Is it hitting the block? Okay, it's apparently hitting the grass and then being nullified. That's kind of funny. But now it says savanna, and the colors have changed, and I didn't even need to relog because they're biome dependent. So this is the savanna color, a color of grass. Now, if I toss this, it'll start raining, but look, I'm in an area where it's not raining because savanna is dry. So you get all of the biome's effects in that space. Isn't that really convenient? So you can do things like, if you were to find a mushroom biome, you could bring it home with you, and then you could have all the quietness and mushroomage of the mushroom biome all to yourself. So you can do all sorts of crazy stuff whenever you can affect the weather itself. I'm back. Now, there are, of course, some more things that you can use for your convenience early on, and that aren't particularly expensive, although there are some with some interesting side effects. Originally, I was going to show these things first, but I'm kind of thinking I want to show off this. This is the Blood Pearl of Teleportation. Now, it should be noted that there's more than one thing you can do with the Blood Infuser, and one thing is charge up things that need blood, so you can infuse them with blood as fuel. So you can also take blood into your extractor if you wish. So that goes back and forth. It gives you an easy way of doing things, like if you need some of that hardened blood, you can do it that way. And you can also fuel up things that use blood as fuel, so like this Blood Pearl of Teleportation. This thing is crafted, again, one of those things that's sort of expensive, sort of not. It depends on what you're doing. But it requires 5 Ender Pearls and 4 Dark Power Gems, which, remember, they need to be kind of powered up to get these. But the thing is, this can be used to repetitively hurl an Ender Pearl based projectile and teleport really quickly. Just kind of like normal, except that it's reusable. Now, this isn't as apparent since I'm in creative, but let me switch game mode here. Okay, so allow me to illustrate. Oh, I seem to have fallen in water. Escape. Meow. Oh, I landed right on top of the temple. That was just beautiful. Okay, but yeah, it takes up a little bit each time, and needs to be recharged, but in exchange, you can basically just keep teleporting around with this thing. And again, it can be recharged. Now, note that the Blood Infuser normally works decently fast, so you can recharge your stuff pretty quickly. But other things that are good early on to think about are these special tools and stuff right here. Now, I already have one of them, the Exalted Crafter. This thing is made by 4 gold ingots, an iron ingot, a couple of crushed dark gems, a chest, and a crafting table. Now, these two should indicate what it can really do, because if you click with it and open it, you'll note it has a crafting table and its own internal storage. So, you can actually put things inside this. So, feeling a little overwhelmed with stuff that seems to be accumulating, No problem. Just put it in here. It's like a backpack and a crafting table combined. It's actually pretty darn neat. So this is actually very, very convenient. And yeah, so you can just keep hurling things in and go, yeah, I'm good. So this is pretty nice. Now there's also a one that's based on an ender chest, the Exalted Crafter. The Exalted Wooden Crafter is considered a lesser form to a degree, but at the same time I kind of like it because it has its own internal inventory. The Exalted Crafter connects with something a little different. This is actually your ender chest system. Whenever you open this, you can access your ender chest system directly. Now, it does, in fact, as you'd expect, take an ender chest instead. so it's a little more expensive to craft, but it has a different purpose. Like, you don't have to worry about your stuff because you can make it safe that way, just like with a regular ender chest. Now, it should be noted that if either of these are struck by lightning or used or put into environmental accumulator while it's thundering, then you will find out that they become specially charged, or what they call empowered. What this means is something a little different, and I could demonstrate by... I probably should have kept that lightning grenade. Normally I'm not the one thinking about that. But as I was saying, once they become empowered, they become also kind of eternal. And what I mean by them being eternal is they... Whoa, something happening? Why is it... Why did it... Where'd it go? Is it not rendering right? It wasn't rendering right. Huh. They're not rendering right. Or something. What's going on here? What's going on? Okay, I've tossed them. I'll just approximate. Okay, that's weird. They weren't rendering as items in world. I don't know what was up with that. But you may notice that now they are empowered. What that means is now they are invincible. Like, I can literally toss this into the fire. And guess what? I'm pretty sure I hit it. But I also know it was safe. Why? Because it was empowered. If it's empowered, it... Oh, that's one of the new mobs from Lycanites. There's salamanders. And some more things, too. This is a party pool. Okay. You made me mad. Right. I was trying to demonstrate things, and I had to do that. But as I was going to say, these items chew already. That was necessary. Is it just me, or are there items bouncing naturally? I was going to demonstrate something else about this item, and I'm getting it illustrated with an item that I didn't even expect. What is going on in this version? Hey, shoot! I'm trying to demonstrate something. I'm going to have a lightning ball. Oh yeah, I forgot that they actually turn into lava whenever they die. Anyhow, it's completely invincible and will never despawn, so I just tossed it into lava. But it's somewhere down here, or apparently because of the jumpingness somewhere on the surface. I'm not sure why the items are bouncing other than that, but it should be that the only things that are doing so are items that have been made invincible, like that one. But somehow it's not doing it. In fact, it may have bounced somewhere around here, actually. Because I don't know where it went, because it should be around here, but it's not rendering in the world, so I don't know where it went. But basically said, once you empower it, it will never despawn, and it becomes basically invincible to damage. Like, you toss it into land of lava, land of fire, whatever. But because it's not rendering the world, I have no idea where it went. It may have bounced out because items in general seem to be bouncing out right now. No idea what's up with that. But it seems to be kind of a thing. No idea where that went. But that's basically supposed to be invulnerable. If not, then that's a bug. That's just too temptingly fun. Sorry. figure it out as to where it is. But anyhow, whenever you have that, they are basically supposed to be invulnerable. I just don't know where that one is because it's not rendering in the world right now. That was weird timing for a HUD graphical bug. But yeah, they're basically tagged as permanent as items, and they're invulnerable. So it can be pretty convenient that way. Just to know that your stuff is safe. So this is basically meant so that if you die, and you don't have keep inventory on, or a gravestone mod, or something like that, then it'll preserve your stuff in its own unique fashion, but only with regards to itself. Now these two are very special. You have a vein sword. This is using those spikes from earlier, a dark stick, and a couple of dark power gems. It has a default looting 2 enchantment. I did not enchant that myself, it always comes with it. Now the thing is, even though it has low attack power, like only 4, it's meant to give you extra blood from your enemies on a kill. So if you need to get more blood quickly, or you just want to advance your progress a little faster, in terms of how much you need, then that is definitely the thing for the job. It does take other enchantments if you want to anvil it, but because it's already enchanted, you won't be able to enchant it in an enchantment table. You'll need to anvil it. So just remember that you will have to go with that if you want to improve it. Now, the pickaxe, it's a bit more expensive, but it also has some very special things about it. It takes 3 diamonds, a couple of those hardened blood shards, and a couple of dark sticks. Now, here's the thing. Might summon vengeance spirits? Yeah, that's a bit of a problem. The thing is, it carries a very great amount of fortune, but also a great curse. I don't know why in this exact version of it that's not tagged as a curse. But anyhow, Fortune 5, obviously, is higher than normal amount of fortune. And Vengeance 3, that's special. It's kind of a curse, and for that, it might be about time for me to get into the enchantments included. Now, Fortune 5 obviously is way above normal and allows you to get a lot of stuff. This is actually more meant specifically for within the mod, and to get more dark gems and crushed dark gems. Now, you can, in fact, use it with like vanilla stuff and modded stuff that obey fortune rules. So anything that you can fortune with this thing. And better than normal, because the normal limit is 3, this thing's automatically enchanted with 5. But Vengeance, this is a curse that means that vengeance spirits, those things I said might come after you, will definitely come after you. They will be manifested along the time that you're mining. Like whenever you break a block with it, it has a certain chance to summon a vengeance spirit, and it will come out and attack you. Now, this is the maxed out level for Vengeance. This is 3. And Vengeance 3 means there's a very high chance of being attacked by a Vengeance Spirit, so the trade-off is you can mine tremendously well, but you also tick off the spirit world. So that might not necessarily be the best thing. But if you want to use it, and you're willing to go along with the curse, go for it. It's good for whenever you have non-renewable resources from other mods that really require you to hit hard and fast. Now we have a few things that have to do with some stuff that you may also find in the world, but we also have something that's been a little obvious over there I'll go over in a moment. But there is Ender Tears. These things are rare drops from Enderman, just as it says. You'll find them periodically, and they are used later on, but I can say basically off the bat, collect them, because they have a few different uses. If you have Tinker's Construct, all so long you can melt them down for some Ender fluid. So Liquid Ender, Resonant Ender, whichever one's compatible in your pack. But otherwise, it's used later in Evilcraft whenever you get into higher tiers of blood alchemy. And I have some crucifixness because of that whole lightning incident. But yeah, those come from Enderman. But then you also see something else. A poison sac. A poison sac comes from a very specific mob, and that I'm going to spawn in right now. It's called a poisonous libel. These things are toxic little dragonflies. They're tiny, they have barely any health. You can actually punch them to death in most cases, if you can hit them. They're a very tiny target, and normally speaking, you see them buzzing around your world all over the place. This one seems to be meandering. Just a moment. Pardon me. I'm back here. But yeah, let me see if I can just hit this guy right off the... Yeah, that demonstrated it perfectly. But yeah, I got poison sacks. Now these count as poisonous materials, and by that I mean like literally they count as something toxic if anything's or dictionary that needs poisonous stuff. This is, you can actually get poison as a liquid in Evilcraft, and it has, as you could assume, poisonous uses. Now, it requires a water bucket, a regular, like an empty bucket, and 4 poisonous things. It doesn't have to be the poison sacks, but they are very useful. Like, if I hit recipe on this, it'll also show alternates. You can use pufferfish, you can use poisonous potatoes, and you can use the poison sacks. Anything that's tagged specifically as poisonous material, as it says, except any poisonous material, will count. So if you're trying to go for poisonous, you don't actually have to face those little toxic bugs. You can actually do it that way. And what I mean by toxic is, if I was in survival, there'd be a very high chance that their proximity would make me poisoned. Like, they don't even have to hit you. If they're within a few blocks, you will just get poisoned. I'm pretty sure that you could get this bottle of poison by simply dipping an empty bottle into a pool of poison, which you can actually make. If you use that bucket in World, it makes an actual pool of poison. Allow me to demonstrate. So let me see. Is there something I can poison? Sorry, squid. Again, you're kind of getting it this time. You gonna swim in that? Smart squid. Because that stuff has a chance of poisoning anything that walks into it. Every second there's a good chance that you get poisoned. So this stuff can be good for mob traps because it makes there be a chance that you can poison them down, get them down to 1 HP, and why are you not getting poisoned? Seriously, you should be poisoned by now. Obstinate squid. This squid doesn't know how to die. I should have thrown more lightning grenades in that way just to make sure, but no. Okay. Okay, some additional miscellaneous stuff. Well, one of the things is these can also be used in and of themselves. That's kind of deceptive. Let me actually get some books and... Oh yeah, it's poison. Oh yeah, that's right. You can also make a potion of poison, specifically by crafting rather than brewing. If you use a poison bucket and a glass bottle, that's not the same as the bottle of poison that it shows. Like you know, I might want to I'm gonna get a glass bottle. I'm gonna get a glass bottle right now and see if that works, because I need to see for sure if that's how you get. I'm pretty sure that you click it in here, you get a poison bottle. So yeah, I just hadn't tried it before. It gave me a water bottle and got rid of the source block. Well, that was interesting. It might be a bug, because it's happened in the past that he's had issues with his fluids in their regular containers, but not his own containers. So it's kind of a weird thing that Kroeser has had issues with. So yeah, let's ignore that. that should have been the poison bottle, but it decided not to. So let's just say that it happened. that should have worked. But I was going to demonstrate this little thing here. Whenever you use a poison bucket and enchanted in a book, you can get whenever you use a poison bucket and a book, you can get an enchantment. For some odd reason, it's not what it normally would be. It's not supposed to be Iron Wall. That's from another mod. So I think it's routed it differently, and I can show what it's supposed to be in here, because these are very specific enchantments. It's not like you're doing it for random stuff. Okay, let me see. Poison's label. So you get the poison bucket. Oh, also, by the way, there's some miscellaneous stuff you can do with the mod, like using a spider eye to poison potatoes if you need some. So, yeah. Where's the... Oh yeah, I'll have to go over those in a moment. Enchantments. Yeah, poison tip. What was it? Enchantment exists. Yeah, adding poisonous material to a regular book. It says to be poisonous material to get poison tip. That's what it's supposed to be. Supposed to be. But for some odd reason, it's not working exactly. So let me try it with, and not the bucket of poison. Let me try it with the. I'll try it with a poisonous potato. That would be kind of funny if the poisonous potato works. Because it's. Why do I keep trying to put that inside itself? This is not time for a Exception class thing. Nope, apparently it has to be the bucket. Because this is classified as poisonous material, so it's not working quite right now, so never mind that. Okay, I'll explain the enchantments later as to what, well, not later, but I'll explain the enchantments now into what they're supposed to do. But we have 3 useful enchantments, and we have a couple that are kind of curses. You have Poison Tip. If you use this on a weapon, then Poison Tip will allow you to, well, as you'd think, it poisons the weapon so that you can hit enemies, and it has a better and better chance of giving them poison. So whenever you hit them, you can poison them and bring them down pretty quickly. This is really good, again, with certain things like setting up certain mobs that you want the player kill on real fast. For example, or you want a special kind of kill, like if you want to poison a creeper so you can get a music disc more easily, this is very useful, because it brings them down so that it's easily knocked out by a skeleton. Life stealing. This is interesting in and of itself. Whenever you use this and you hit a creature, you can get a portion of the damage dealt back to your health, so you can heal by it. You don't gain absorption hearts or anything over your regular. You can just heal yourself off their damage. So it's basically a life draining enchant. There's some other mods that add something similar. Unusing is special. What this does is it means that the item will not go below its last point of durability. It will somehow make sure that the item is also non-functional at that point, so it's kind of like a broken Tinker's Construct tool whenever they break, but they still have an item there, and you can't really use it. It's kind of like that. It makes the tool not perform its normal function in exchange for not being able to go below its last point of durability. This way you can repair it later. This is specifically meant to pair up with the blood chest, because that way you can just simply repair it, and you never have to lose it, because you use unusing to make sure that it doesn't use up its last point. You use the blood chest to repair it, but there's also a curse that can happen from the blood chest, and it's one of these two. Now, yeah, I already explained what breaking does. I mean, sorry, forgot which one. I just saw this and I said breaking. Funny. Anyhow, I already explained what vengeance does. It summons vengeance spirits to attack you. And what breaking does, however, is a different kind of curse. As you repair things in the blood chest, you have a chance of getting this curse on them. And what it does is it makes the weapon or tool or whatever it is more fragile. Or armor. It can be armor or anything else for that matter. But whatever it is, if you have breaking, it increases the chance that it will use more durability, not less. So it will shred them quickly if you have that curse. This is obviously very bad to have in combination with the curse of well, it's very bad to have in combination with any curse, really. So why would you really want? This is one of those things where you're going, if anything is multiply cursed, it's got to be bad. And the statement of that is totally yes. Now this is a special thing right here. This is a zombie that's obviously not burning. The reason why is for him, it's supposed to be dark in there, because this is a little miscellaneous something I'll go over. This is called obscured glass. How you can make this is, it is any glass around a dark gem. You get 8 of them back. But it is or dictionary with glass, by the way, I believe. But what it does is it allows you to see through it perfectly. It's clearer than normal glass. The way the texture connects makes it where you can only see the general outline normally. And it actually, at least it's supposed to, I'm not sure if it is right now because of the general lighting around here and how it's orientated, but it will keep light from going through technically. Like if you make a building completely out of this, and well, let me try that real fast. If you just surround yourself in it, it's supposed to darken the area rather than allowing light to fully pass through. So I'm about to turn off the lights by placing. See, this area is dark. It's because it's not letting the light fully pass through. Let me see if the F3 says so. Yeah, it kind of dims the light more and more. Like right now it's saying light level 4. But basically said, if you have a thick layer of this, it will completely blot out the light. Like, see that now the light level says 15. Now it says it's at 4. And that's just off, like, the skylight being one pane. I mean, one piece of glass, sorry, not pane. Anyhow, it basically obscured glass really dampens the light level. It's good for making dark rooms that you can see into, like if you're doing mob farms. And it also keeps anything that would normally observe through the glass from seeing you, I believe. So obscured glass is really obscured. It's how it works. Now, a few miscellaneous things before I go on to the next section, which is how you get your upgrades and stuff dependent on your upgrades. Oh, just reminded myself of something else I needed to go over. Put this on the roof. Yeah. Blood collection, there's another way to do it. A couple ways to do it. If you put one of those spike plates on top of some of these things, you can collect it easier. Also, this helps. But what these are special pedestals and one of my favorite tanks. How could I miss this tank? I guess I just didn't put it along my exact path. But I think it's because I wanted to demonstrate it up here to show how these are supposed to work. But anyhow, yeah, I'll demonstrate that last thing later. But yeah, what these do is special. If there are some of those bloodstained blocks, which apparently aren't working right now, close by, then they will drain their blood and place them inside the pedestal. And if you have a container for fluids, like these dark tanks, they can shift them into them directly. And they can also be piped out of if you have mods that are compatible with that sort of thing, like Buildcraft, etc. Now, how you actually make them is they're actually sort of a little expensive each because they always use a dark block, which is, again, 9 dark gems. And these use 6 more, just for the basic version. The sanguinary version, which is stronger and it has more efficiency, requires one of the previous 5 dark power gems and an entire block of dark power gems. So, yeah, that makes it a little expensive. So you gotta be wondering right now, why would I do that? And the answer is pretty simple, because you can use this as an additional way of collecting blood. As I said, putting spike plate on it is particularly important. In this case, it's because whenever a spike plate has a mob on it that's taking damage, it doesn't have to be dead yet, it will drain blood through these spike plates, put them into the pedestal, and the pedestal will transfer it to anything else that's compatible with fluid, like these dark tanks. And dark tanks are something that it is really awesome how these works, but I'm just going to do this visual demonstration first. As you can see that they're taking damage and being drained and it's going into the tanks. They're also apparently going down here because they were hit by the plate. They also count as giving experience. Again, this acts kind of like a fake player in a very convenient form. I think he added some bounce to plates so that apparently they got juggled a little. But you can see the blood has been collected into these special tanks. And it's not much, but the way blood works in Evilcraft in general is based on the HP that the mob has. The bigger they are, the more you get whenever they die. Now, silverfish don't have much, and these will make it per unit of damage, so they make it even more proportional over time before the mob even dies. But normally speaking, you'd kill them while holding on to one of these, the blood extractor, and you'd get you'd get blood based on their current HP, current max HP. So an infernal mob actually will give you more than a regular mob of its type. Bosses will give you more, obviously, because they usually have more health, etc. This makes it scaling so that you can extract from anything quickly. If you have a farm for chickens or a silverfish spawner that you've captured uh, from a stronghold, it makes it really easy so that even little guys contribute somehow. Yay! Now, as for the dark tank itself and how it works, this is where it gets cool. A dark tank is actually compatible with any fluid at all, and it has a pretty easy crafting recipe. A couple of dark gems, a couple of iron ingots, and any glass. There's a special convenience recipe that I've used before. It uses entire blocks instead of gems and ingots, and it makes you one that's way bigger. Now, these can be upgraded. You can apply them to each other to make bigger and bigger ones, and each one can contain a pretty good amount of fluid. Even the basic model is 16 buckets worth, 16,000 MB. That's actually pretty impressive with a lot of fluid use mods. And another thing about them is if you were to click on them normally, you'll see a color change. This means that it's automatically venting its fluids down into whatever is compatible below. If there is like a block below that can also accept fluids, it'll take it. There's also something kind of funny you can do otherwise, and I'm hoping to demonstrate this. If you're holding a blood extractor and you're below it. Why am I doing that? Is it because I'm in creative? It might be because I'm in creative. Hello? You supposed to be supplying? No? No. I think it's having some issues with that. Not sure what's going on there. It's supposed to work. Well, maybe it's just working with pipes and not with players right now, but there used to be a feature where if you were below it and you had something that could contain blood and you used it, then it would automatically supply it if you just stood underneath, which was particularly cool. So that may just be a feature that's currently still in transition. That happens. But a feature that they and the Blood Extractor have in common is something that I'll get into whenever I'm showing off more items that use blood as fuel. So there are additional ways of using them. For now, though, I think I'll head off here before I get into some of the more complex things you can do with it. Although you did get a bit of a taste of something like that with this Blood Pearl teleportation. Things that are powered by blood that you keep as equipment and can use some interesting abilities from. But for now, I think I'll end off with this segment and be back later. And we'll get into things like upgrades, things that result from those upgrades that are extra tiers of stuff, and we'll get on to some additional complex stuff later. And quick hint, that wall is hiding something. Yeah, we'll get into that later. But for now, this is Glitch Reaper, and I hope that you liked this introduction to Evilcraft. And it is something that I will be showing off more of. This is just actually the first section. It shows how big this mod is if this is the first section. It's like even just like beginning and discovery tier. That's basically what this is. And so you can tell this is going to be a big one. Anyhow, for now, I'll be signing off. Hope to hear from you all later. So, bye for now, and see you next time, everybody.